Hey guys, I wanted to show you some of the projects that kids from 2017 did to maybe inspire you um, and help you understand what I'm looking for with your project. So I'm just going to read you a couple of things from their papers and their final analysis, but a part in there is all about the creative project. So this one is Andrea Bennett's. It represents the tambourine that Oscar would walk around with. And let me see. I'm going to read this to you here. Okay, she says, another detail that I noticed more in the movie than the book was the tambourine, because I could literally hear Oscar shaking it. This really stood out to me. I liked how the tambourine was almost used as a buffer for Oscar when he was facing things he feared. This specific point inspired my creative project. I made a tambourine black on my project in the things Oscar feared in gray because the tambourine was more powerful. Oscar was able to face his fears with it. I also wrote the words fear coming off the tambourine, like the shaking noise it makes, because it's like the tambourine is shaking off the things Oscar was afraid of. Finally, I included Oscar's quote on page 88 when he said, I shook my tambourine the whole time because it helped me remember that even though I was going through different neighborhoods, it was still me. I thought this quote was an appropriate summation of Oscar's feelings towards his tambourine, and it was important to include. So this is Andrea's. She put the bells on the back, which was kind of cool. Very creative. Okay, so Emily's was really cool too. Here's hers. You can see that she made pictures and then typed the words that were important, and I'll read what she had to say. And she made 3 of them based on the 3 narrators. So let me find where it's at in her paper. Okay, regarding my project, I created 3 pictures made out of words. Each picture is made up of symbols and words for each narrator, symbolizing each individual narrator. For the grandmother, I used symbols like the typewriter, I'll show you this, the walkie-talkie, and the broken marriage. For the grandfathers, he had symbols like the notepad, yes and no hands, a suitcase, and doorknobs. Finally, for the picture for Oscar, I used symbols like the key, a tambourine, a camera, rewind, heart, and blue vase. The background of Oscar's picture is a grid map of New York City. All of these pictures were created by myself. Then I used words describing each individual to emphasize their character. This is so cool what she did. You know, like on Oscar, she has realist, hope, bruises, dad, black, telephone, Chanel, inventor, and there's, they get smaller. Like she made, like within this, they look like road maps, but if you look super close, which it's getting dark when I do that, but it's all, like the whole picture is made up of words, which I think is really kind of cool. And then like the grandfather, yes and no, of course. And then there's silence, letters, guilt, bombing, sorry, silence, pictures, guilt again, so this is a really cool app. Wordify maybe is what she used, but you could ask Mrs. Morrow because she told her mom told her about it. And the grandma, blank spaces, love, in like loss, grandma, protect, something, nothing from the spaces, and then the rings. That was pretty cool. And what I want to see with these are a lot of thought and symbolism that goes into it. So I thought those were 2 really good examples. Jason Hallbeck, he did this here, and this represents the grandfather. He said, I showed what the mind of the grandfather could possibly look like. The bomb represents the bombing of Dresden and how it has never left his mind. Within the bomb are in the mind are words from the story like nothing, spaces, Anna, and death. These are all things that the bombing has caused to stay in his mind forever, and they will forever cause him to act the way that he does. So, I mean, it's a simple picture, but it's very symbolic. And he wrote like, to my child, here's the buildings to represent the World Trade Center and stuff. And it was kind of like a bomb in his head. All those things that just haunted him forever. So I thought that was kind of cool. This one I loved. I thought that the symbolism in this, like, I mean, you can draw this simple picture, but it took a lot of thought to go in behind it. This is Bryce Heiser's, and you can see that it's a key, and there's a lot going on within it. So I'm going to read what he wrote here. He said, I chose to make this creative project because it presents Oscar's fears and items that come with his fears. I put all the items within in as the shape of a key, because I feel that as long as Oscar had the key, he would always have his fears and the items that came along with it. Once Oscar met William Black, he was able to let the key go. This was a turning point, which also meant his fears would be gone. Because of the journey he went on with the key, he conquered his fears and was able to accept the fact that his father would never come back. So, I mean, this is cool. Like the bridge that he had to go over, he was scared of that. The World Trade Centers, traffic, he didn't like elevators. Here's Oscar. Here's that swing that was in the end. That, what is it called? The message machine for your phone. I can't think of it. Sometimes we have to face our fears, and his heavy boots. And all of those things are things that Oscar carried with him, but through this adventure and figuring out and trying to find who that key belonged to, he was able to overcome those things. So I thought this was really a cool visual representation of what Bryce was trying to get across with his creative project. Let's see, there's a few more I wanted to show you. Okay, this one's Aaliyah's. Does that look familiar from the book? So, all right, now I have to find where she wrote. Okay, so I chose the text and images for my creative medium because it was part of the book that really stuck out to me. When Oscar went to the craft store in search of answers, he found his dad's name written on a tablet. To me, that was the motivation he needed to keep searching. I chose to make an art tablet that focuses on important details and quotes from the book because it's almost like telling the whole story in one picture. In the middle, I drew the words, "We would have been safe," in a swirling motion to give the effect that everything is spinning backwards, as Oscar describes in the last few paragraphs of the book. I also feel that the spiraling motion could symbolize how everything was spinning out of control for Oscar. So, again, she just took like a lot of different quotes, important pages, and like she drew the key, yes and no hands, the towers. So I really hope that I leave this kind of as an open-ended sort of project for you guys in hopes that you will put a lot of thought into it and have fun with it and just be creative, because we do so much writing and reading and just textbook like plain things that I think that getting to be creative and showing what's going on in your head in a creative way is really something that'll stretch your thinking, and it's something you don't get to do often enough, and I think that you should. So sorry we can't do it more, but here's your chance, so be creative. Okay, so this is Alison Becker's, and at first I was like, what is that? So if you look at it, these are birds, and I know it's on Photo Booth, it's weird how it's like flipped, but it says extremely loud. extremely, she said something else, in incredibly close. So she wrote, then out of nowhere, a flock of birds flew by the window. And let me explain why she did this, which I think was brilliant, that she thought about this. So she was talking about the movie. She said the story was missing some key plot points that happened in the book. The biggest plot point I found that was missing was the absence of Mr. Black. Mr. Black was an old man who lived above Oscar in the apartment complex. He was very loud, but very open with Oscar. The reader finds out that Mr. Black is deaf and has been reading Oscar's lips the whole time. Oscar turns on Mr. Black's hearing aids for him, and the very first sounds he hears are birds hitting the windows. The author explains that through Oscar, then, out of nowhere, a flock of birds flew by the windows, extremely fast and incredibly close. The reason that this was a key point is because that it is the moment that the title clicked for me. The birds were like the color to Mr. Black's ears. Everyone has something in their life extremely and incredibly something, but they just have to dig a little deeper to find it. Sometimes that extremely and incredibly something is the journey itself. So that's why she chose the birds to spell out the words here, because she thought that really symbolized a lot of the story and what the author was trying to say. Okay, I have like a few more to show you, but hopefully you're getting lots of ideas. This is Michaela Pardun's, which I thought was kind of a powerful thing. She says, for my creative medium project, it shows the underground where the ghastly bodies float around, with a quote from Oscar. The quote says, sometimes I can hear my bones straining under the weight of all the lives I am not living. It signifies Oscar's changing in a way. He turns into a young man who does not only realize the logical side of life, but the emotional as well. The second part of my project focuses on the above ground part. So here's the bodies. She has that quote. Here's the above ground. Okay, and I lost my place. Let me see. Okay. It shows the twin towers, one burning with a man jumping out of the building, and the other one about to hit by the second plane. Both of the towers are filled with significant quotes and words from the book, written in black and red with some of the letters and punctuation circled with a red marker, just like the letters in the book and like what the dad would do. So she really put a lot of thought into that. This is some of the most significant parts of the story. The twin towers and the man jumping out represent why this whole adventure and change of heart has happened in the first place. It was the catalyst for the climax of the story. The man jumping out represents Oscar and how he could not stop imagining how his father died in the attacks, which were a big part of the story, and one of the many reasons why he had ventured and also to get some closure. The words and quotes from the story that fill the Twin Towers are very significant to the plot and the storyline. So she really took time to figure out what she wanted to put as words and quotes and things in those buildings. They are some of the most important parts of the story and explain why some of the characters are the way that they are. So there's Michaela's. I thought that was really thoughtful. Lots of symbolism in that, and that's what I want to see. Okay. Taylor Strope. She had a steno pad and wrote important words, quotes, and symbols in it. I started with the title. This is a title in and of itself, which can be troubling, but after seeing the movie and reading the book, it is easier to make the connections to it. Next, I included the grandfather's hands. If he did not have a pad and a pen with him at any point in time, the only words he would use are yes and no. This is a vital piece of the story and about who the grandpa is. There are also many quotes added. These quotes were able to show the relationship between the characters. It also showed the communication or lack of communication between characters. At the very end, I added the final line of the book. Oscar wishes that he could change what happened, but he'll never be able to do that. And she included a bunch of quotes from the book, just the ones that she thought were very important. So this may look simple, but she took a lot of time and a lot of effort into choosing what she wanted to put in here. And then in the end, we all would have been safe, or we would have been safe. So I have just one more I'm going to show you. I don't have her paper for what she wrote. I don't know where I put that. Okay, so these are Mackenzie Peterson's. She made one of these octagons for each of the narrators, Oscar, Grandma, and Grandpa. And let me see. So I think this one's Oscar's. She said Oscar, she did this with colored pictures because everything was vivid to him and overexpressed. The first one, and I'm not going to open these in front of you because I have a hard time doing it and I don't want to break anything. But you can open them up and then look at the other pictures. One represents the relationship with his dad. The second one are the 9/11 towers, the World Trade Center towers. And then the third one's the blue vase because that's where his whole search started. The next one is Grandma's. The first one's where her story started with the bombing of Dresden. Then the typewriter to symbolize her marriage and lack of communication. And then Oscar saying, "I'm okay, Grandma."
Sorry, on the door and I was looking in.
That's fine.
Sorry to make it this morning. I was Mr. Hunt and was kind of stickler about it, so.